I think I'm jealous. Is that what I'm feeling?
But now we can go ahead and we can jump into my overall opinions on She-Hulk chat. She-Hulk, colon, and heavy emphasis on that colon chat, Attorney at Law, which is also, a title for one of the runs of She-Hulk chat. Which I have to say at the front, I've talked about this before in my various other platforms and various other streams. I'm a She-Hulk fan. I've read the comics for years. Particularly, I'm more versed in the She-Hulk comics from the 2000s and also into the early 2010s. Those are some really fun runs of the character. I've read maybe a little bit of She-Hulk from like the 80s and stuff. I remember, I think I own a couple of a single issue Fantastic Four comics where she was with them for a time after Ben Grimm left the Fantastic Four. I remember that. I think I have like one of those issues. Outside of that, I'm more familiar with the more modern take on the character for the last 20 or so years, chap. And for those that don't know, people are like, well, She-Hulk, is she just like her cousin, Bruce Banner? Some people, it's so funny, chat. Some people don't even realize that Bruce Banner and Jennifer Walters, who is She-Hulk, are actually related. Like, there is just so much, like, disturbing fan fiction out there, chat, and people saying, like, why don't they get together? It's like, don't you realize they're related? They're cousins, unless they're into incest, chat. That was kind of the premise of Old Man Logan, Mark Miller, Mr. Edgelord himself. He's like, I want them to fuck. It's like, I don't need that. He made that, again, if anyone who thought that would be sexy, Mark Miller killed that dead. Let's not go down that road. And I hope, Chad, I pray to whatever fucking power that be, that does not happen in this show or any other future adaptations of this character, Chad, of both Bruce and Jennifer. But for those that don't know, it follows Jennifer Walters, the cousin of Bruce Banner, of course, famously the Hulk, Chad, the Incredible Hulk, and she's a lawyer that specializes in various cases involving superheroes and superhumans and villains. And she also has the alter ego, chat, of the superhero She-Hulk, where she has to, stop bad guys on occasion, chat. The comics have always had a very, Ally McBeal, Boston Legal, Night Court. You pick whatever lawyer show you want, chat, kind of vibe to them. And I have to say, at least for this first episode, I think this is a very good opening that establishes the tone of the show, the comedic tone of the show, and also establishes who Jennifer Walters is as a person. Like, from the immediate first scene, which, She-Hulk is played by Tatiana Maslany, which is excellent casting, chat. I think she wasn't originally my first choice, but I'm like, oh, when they said her name, when she was rumored to be playing She-Hulk, I was like, oh, wow, that's a really good choice. And so I was very okay with that from the beginning. But what I like about it from the very first scene, chat, which has her kind of doing her opening monologue as if she's talking to the court. She's like rehearsing it. That opening scene establishes how passionate she is, and also how she's kind of like a goofy dork that loves her job. And they also, I think, do a great job of easing the audience into her fourth wall break. People forget, like, oh, why is she stealing Deadpool's shtick? That's not how it happened, chat, in the comics. Deadpool stole She-Hulk's shtick. All right? It was originally her. She was one of those first characters that was breaking the fourth wall, chat. Again, being very comedic in nature. And how they've handled, how that after, she does her whole thing, she talks to her friends, and then she engages with the audience. I thought that was cool. Plus, there's just something about Tatiana Maslany's performance and just how she comes across. Like, the reason why I say goofy dork, and I say that not facetiously in any case. I say that with being very endearing. I think it's very wholesome. It's like after she finished it, she's like, she asks her friends, so what do you think? And they go, oh, Jen, it's great. And she's like, and like she has this overbite and she starts giggling. It's like that to me, that was adorable. And already I was like, because I've seen this episode twice now. I watched it by myself. And because I wanted to, in case we were going to talk about it on Double Toast, which we did, and then I watched it a second time with you, and it just really comes across that, wow, she's really passionate about her job, and she feels a little insecure, and that's why she feels like she has to rehearse this. And when she gets that kind of praise, she's like, oh, I thought that was really adorable. Another thing that stands out, and this is very early on, the family dynamic between Jennifer Walters and Bruce Banner, played by Mark Ruffalo, I think is excellent. Now they're cousins, and they establish that, but they feel like siblings. They feel very much like a brother and sister. And also, as someone who's been watching, various Hulk films and Hulk adaptations, and Hulk is so often a tragic character in the comics. And I mean, that's been some great stories, no doubt about it. And it's been great for the MCU, and in the Incredible Hulk, didn't work very well in the 2003 Ang Lee movie. Although it worked, well in the original 70s show of Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno. There was some good stuff there. We often see just Hulk constantly as a tragic character. And so giving Bruce some happiness, I think, is a good thing. I've liked his transition into Smart Hulk or Professor Hulk. I like that he has family and he's reconnecting with them. And so to kind of see him, because so often he's a loner, he's constantly alone because he knows he can't have relationships because he always fears that he's going to endanger them either from an outside element or because of himself. And so here where, he was talking to a family member like they were his sister, I really like that, and I connected with that. And also just, it provides more for Mark Ruffalo's Hulk to do and kind of see him in a way which we have not yet seen him, which is, dealing with his family and the good and the bad of that. I also like how in this episode, which, listen, they fast-tracked that origin, and some people are going to have issue with that. In the comics, first of all, She-Hulk's origin in the comics is kind of stupid, to be honest, because it was if I remember correctly, Jennifer Walters had like a medical issue, and the only one that she could exchange her blood with was her cousin, Bruce Banner. And I guess they just forgot to mention, like, oh yeah, your cousin is the Hulk. And so when his gamma irradiated blood entered her body, Chad, she fucking hulked out. Like, that never made any sense, really. And so they kind of modernized the origin where something happens and Bruce Banner's blood gets inside of Jennifer Walters, but it's done by complete accident. It was not intended to happen, but it just does. And then the events later unfold. And I've gotten to that point now where I don't like it where we just have to have like half the series or half the movie just be about the origins. Like, let's get this out of the way quick. I don't mind moving in a nice clip. Let's get to the funny stuff. Let's get to more of that dynamic between, She-Hulk and Hulk, and I'm personally good. So I know some people haven't liked the truncated origin or fast-tracked origin, the fact that they changed it, even though it probably makes more sense that it happened this way. So I was totally fine. And another thing about this, too, this episode, it takes its time because the whole thing is about, She-Hulk training to be a Hulk, or She-Hulk having to live with being a Hulk, and, the various problems that comes with that, and the benefits, which I think is kind of fun. But another thing that it does well, and it's done during when we're not doing the montage scenes, not doing the little funny action scenes, but I like that when we have these scenes between both Bruce and Jennifer, how they respect and acknowledge the greater universe that is the MCU. And there's some great stuff where, again, I'm not going to get into spoilers. I want to actually say what's discussed in great detail. But like how Bruce acknowledges his friendship with Tony Stark, who's gone. His friendship with Steve Rogers and how complicated that was, especially because he's friends with Steve, but he also is friends with Tony, and there's some stuff from Civil War brought up, and I really like that. And that, again, that felt very wholesome. And it didn't feel fan servicey. It just felt like, wow, this character has a lot of history. He even brings up that I've been this way for 15 years. And I'm like, oh shit, wow. Because it's true, because like the MCU like started in 2008, and yes, they've kind of did a time jump. And so it's like, oh yeah, that kind of all matches up now. He's been this way for 15 years, has been having a deal with being the Hulk for 15 years. I was like, oh, that was kind of cool, acknowledging the timeline. And there's also some other things that kind of connect to Thor Ragnarok, which I thought was really cool. And it sets something up that potentially, not saying it will be, we don't know, that could be interesting either later on the She-Hulk series or another Hulk adventure, chat, or another, film. Another thing that's been kind of a point of contention for a lot of people is the CGI. I haven't really been bothered by the CGI for the most part. I think for the most of it, it's been good. It's been decent. it's not as spectacular as something like, Endgame or Infinity War, but I haven't been too bothered by it. There is now the smoothness on Jen's face is sometimes it's a little too smooth. But what they have her doing in these episodes, how she's showing off, how it's more comedic in nature, it kind of allows me to forgive it. I've said this before, and it's a personal thing. I can kind of let like iffy CGI slide, like in a comedy or more over the top movie. It's like if they're acknowledging like, yeah, this is goofy, and so then the CGI can be goofy. But if you're like being like dead fucking serious, and I notice the CGI is like, oh, I can't take this seriously, If all the other characters see you seriously, it kind of takes me out of it. And so I don't mind it too much. I will say though, the CGI on Hulk, on Mark Ruffalo's Hulk is better, but that's because he's older than Tatiana Maslany, and he's more weathered looking. He's more rugged looking. So he has a lot of lines on his forehead. He has 5 o'clock shadow. He has hair on his arms. Like I noticed those details with him. He has like his brows more furrowed. And where with She-Hulk, she's more feminine. She's softer. Her face is smoother. Like the body I think looks fine, but yeah, the face. And people are saying like they have issues with the hair. I don't really have issues with the hair. Like it's bouncing like hair and everything. So I don't feel like it feels very floaty, but some of the stuff with her face, I was like, okay, yeah, it's a little too smooth. But it's like they're trying to balance it, and maybe it doesn't always work. I was not taken out of it as much as other people were personally. And now there is one thing I will say, I am hoping that when she eventually transitions to the movies, which I hope she does, because I like her interaction with Bruce, and I'm sure we're going to see an interact with more characters later on in the show. Other superheroes, obviously Daredevil. Like Daredevil's not in this episode, Chad. I don't think Daredevil is going to be in the first 4, from what I've been told, and I think even Corey Martin brought that up on Double Toasted in their review. So I think not Deadpool. Well, maybe Deadpool will show up, but Daredevil probably won't show up until like probably the last. I guess at this point, the last 4 or 5. So expect them there. But I'm interested in what that interaction is going to be. The thing is, though, I have checked out some other reviews, and I've seen other people's perspective on the show, and I'm just kind of blown away. Like some people have been liking it. I think for the most part, people are liking it, but there is just this vehement, I've noticed, this vehement hatred towards this show, where for some publication, they're calling it the worst thing the MCU has ever produced. And I'm just like, I don't understand that. Now, I mean, the backlash seems kind of silly to me. Now, the thing is, this is very much She-Hulk from the comics. I'm like, oh wow, they're nailing this. Everything from the way she presents herself, the way she has kind of this. She's a little awkward when she's originally when she's Jennifer Walters, but then she kind of takes pride in her sexuality, and she's like, I want to fuck things. I think I think that's cool. So I don't know what like kind of other than like the CGI stuff. And in the humor, what the main issues are. Now, listen, other than the fact that you might not find it funny, which is fair. I feel like comedy is the most subjective genre. What I find funny, you may not necessarily find funny. What you find funny, I'm not necessarily find funny. So, if that's the case, that you're just like, I'm just not jiving with the humor. Like, okay, that's fine. But. And I guess the CGI is a little iffy, but I don't know. I'm a little taken aback. People are just saying Tatiana Maslany is giving a horrible performance, or Mark Ruffalo's performance is bad. I'm just like, I don't agree. I don't understand. I think Tatiana Maslany, at least from the first episode. I mean, I don't know how she is. Maybe these critics, they got what 3 or 4 episodes in at this point, and so maybe my opinion on Tatiana Maslany's performance will change, but so far I feel like she is nailing the Jennifer Walters She-Hulk that I've read in the comics for close to 20 years. And now there is also a backlash against Mark Ruffalo's Hulk right now, which I've just never been on board with. People have been saying that they just want old Smash Savage Hulk back. And I just don't. I thought it was so refreshing, even starting with Thor Ragnarok, that we started to get a more intelligent version of the character, that he started speaking, that he wasn't saying, things other than just smash and just screaming, because that gets boring, And so I like that. Oh, we have started to make him more intelligent, and now in both in Endgame and here, and the little other appearances that Bruce has made throughout the MCU since that time, that he's been able to blend the Bruce Banner and the Hulk personality into one person. And he's evolved. He's still dealing with the various issues of being a Hulk, but I don't know. I find it really fucking refreshing that he seems to be more at peace than he's ever been. He's happy. Like, we see him happy for the first time. Still struggling, but still happy. And wanting to also be a brother to Jennifer. I really like that. So the whole thing, if I don't want to regret. Listen, there's gonna be a moment. It's gonna happen where he's going to go back to being Savage Hulk. They'll do action scenes with all that. I have no doubt about it. But I don't want to regress where he's never intelligent again. I don't want to have him constantly deal with like the fear of transforming. I like that he's kind of figured it out. I think that's cool, because so often, it's like it's like tragedy porn. I think that's the only way I can. It's sadness porn is how I describe people who just want miserable, lonely Bruce Banner. There's a lot of material where they do that, and so now we see him where he is happier. He's a little more sure of himself. He seems a little more content. I like that. And now he wants to help someone else. I think it's good. Now the one thing I'm thinking we can disagree on. I think we can disagree, like we can amicably disagree on the comedy. Again, subjective. CGI, sure, and maybe how they fast track the origin. Like I'm not too bothered by it, but it's like, hey, if you wanted that to be explored a little bit more, that's fair. That's fair. But the one thing, and I'm going to stand by this. I'll take a stand on this. And it's this backlash that I've been seeing for a lot of different franchises, a lot of different films, and it's coming from, a lot of the content creator side. If people are mad that they're making an adaptation of a superpowered female character just because she's a female superpowered character, you have no leg to stand on. Absolutely none. You sound spiteful and honestly just not very sincere. You sound like a grifter. You come across like you're always going to hate. You're always going to hate this because of your grifting shtick. And to me, it's like they're reading nowadays. It's like reading from a script. It's just become so fucking obvious. It's like, well, of course you're gonna do that. Of course you're gonna say that because you have to. It's a part of your whole platform. That's how it has to be. You're always gonna see it through that lens. You've painted yourself into a corner because of your faux bias. And it honestly, it just makes a lot of those channels and those creators and everything else and those critics just very banal and uninteresting. It's just like, all right, well, I already know what's going to come out of you, Not going to give anything a chance because you're already going to come in with that perspective no matter what and not judge it just based on what it's showing you, And I don't know, to me, that's nonsense. That to me is, okay, you're doing a shtick and it's like at that point, then why even acknowledge you? You're boring. You're just boring at that point. I think we can disagree about the show, but if you're coming in there with already that bias in mind, that you just don't like this show because there's a woman or there's a person of color in it, then it's like, well, get over yourself. Jesus Christ. Stop being such an unhappy, miserable person. It's just kind of sad. It's kind of sad, and I don't know. I pity those people that they kind of live that way, chat. I hope they can get better. I hope they can kind of have a come to God moment and go like, oh shit, maybe I've been making myself feel this way, and I can open myself up to different things and different genres and mediums and stories and creators. But I don't know, some of these people just don't want to do that because of, well, this is what I do and I have to do it this way. And I feel like eventually you're just going to be maybe clearly the money's good, but I don't know. I feel like you would begin to resent it. Anyway, that's just my opinion overall. But despite that, I really like the show so far. I want to get deeper into it, chat, and I think I'll do a She-Hulk in review once we get to like episode 5 or 6 maybe, and then I'll do like a finale review of the show overall. But that's just how I feel about the series, chat. What about you guys? How do you like the introduction of She-Hulk? Do you have experience with the character? How do you like Tatiana Maslany's performance? I think it's fucking adorable. But that's just me, chat. What about you, chat? How do you guys feel about Marvel's She-Hulk at this point? I mean, we're only in one episode in. Maybe some of you are in those critic circles, and you lucky son of a bees, you got those first 3 or 4 episodes. What about you? They do it for Tonio, good to see him. They do it for Shockville, it's more fake. Yeah, that's the thing. They come off as grifters now. It's just like, well, of course they're going to say that. You can literally, I can have a script ready and go like, is what they're going to say this here and here and here and here. Oh, it's It's just, God. This just so comes across generic now. It's like, oh, okay. Chris is fine. Just feels like more of the same, and the Marvel burnout is real for me. But Chris is not liking it. Guys, but this show is super fun. Glad we got to see her interact with Bruce instead of them being like, by the way, her cousin is Bruce. Yes, no, I love that they brought in Mark Ruffalo, and I like that interaction. You know, I'm hoping that he'll be coming back in and out of the series. Obviously, you know, they want her to stand on her own. And we can just do more characters. And we know that, you know, Tim Roth, Emil Blonsky is going to be back, which is going to be really cool that they're incorporating more of the Incredible Hulk stuff. And so finally acknowledging that the Blonskys, I mean, they have in some of the past movies, like in Shang-Chi and stuff. But it's like, oh, it's going to be cool to see him return to the MCU. It's been over 10 years now, chat. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm curious how they're going to do Daredevil in this series. I mean, it's going to be, I mean, they've already said he's going to be more lighthearted. And I had a video covering this. I had a video covering the reaction to people finding out that being announced that this Daredevil is going to be more lighthearted in the show. People going like, that's horrible. We don't want that. And the thing is, again, Daredevil, when he's with She-Hulk, is always lighthearted. Like anytime, and he appears in her comics a lot. They're both fucking lawyers. They're the most famous attorneys ever in the MCU. You know, she's a prosecutor, he's a defense attorney. They go up against each other. They're kind of like, they're frenemies, if you will, you know, in the courtroom setting. And they're obviously good friends outside of it. So, I mean, I would want, you know, Charlie Cox's Daredevil to be lighthearted. Like, he's going to get his own show. And I think they're probably going to have a balance. I would not be surprised if it is lighter, because most likely they're going to adapt the Mark Waid run. There's some indicators that I get that sense that it's going to happen. And it's a fantastic run, in my opinion. But anyone who's going in there just going, no, fuck that. It's like, that's how it is. I mean, it wouldn't make any sense tonally if Matt Murdock came in there as like, I nearly beat a man to death. It's like, what are you talking about? that wouldn't work for me. And chat, at the end of Daredevil season 3, Matt Murdock is at the best point of his life ever. So there is that. So we'll see though. I am curious, like you, Kibini9. I believe he's going to be treated lighthearted, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. So we'll see. And not saying that you're against that either. I'm just bringing that up in general. Luke Boss says it did feel rushed. I still need to watch it, but I have to wait until I'm home. Looks fun though. I think it'll help my burnout because of the lighter tone. Yeah, I think so. No, it's a comedy. It is. It has more in common with Boston Legal, with you know, Night Court, Alec McBeal, all those shows. You know, they're doing more of the superhero stuff right now, but you know, for at this point, they're clearly indicating like this is a sitcom. And I think that works. Crusaders, I mean, it'd be like if Christmas or Halloween was every 2 or 3 weeks instead of once a year in concept. That probably sounds awesome. I fucking love Halloween every 3 weeks. Christmas, not so much. But if that were to actually happen, there'd probably be a point where you get tired of the music and the decoration, the candy and all this stuff, and that comes with it. That's me with Marvel. Yeah. Yeah, I just, you know, listen, I am not experiencing, the reason why I'm not experiencing burnout is, like, yeah, this phase has been kind of up and down. There's no doubt. But of the film, but I liked a lot of number of the films that they've released. You know, I love Spider-Man No Way Home. I really enjoyed both, you know, Thor and Doctor Strange, although a lot of people didn't. You know, I was more mixed on Shang-Chi. That to me is like, that is very much the middle of this phase, like in terms of quality. I like half the movie and the other half I did not. And then you have Black Widow and Eternals, which I feel like even though I think Black Widow had some good stuff in it, but it had a lot of issues, especially with the story and the villain. Major problems with that. It was a pretty terrible story and a pretty terrible villain. But there are some good stuff. Florence Pugh was excellent. So was Scarlett Johansson. The whole family dynamic, that was good. And Eternals I think that's the worst one. Eternals will definitely spurn a lot of goodwill. There's no doubt about that. And in terms of the shows, like, Loki. I love Loki. I love WandaVision, and I also really liked Falcon Winter Soldier. I'm more mixed on Miss Marvel and Moon Knight in terms of the shows. Has there been any other Marvel show? I'm trying to think if there's been anything else. Those are the ones. But yeah, so I'm not really experiencing that burnout, honestly. I mean, there's been other bad superhero films too. I think it's just a genre that is. People keep saying like, superheroes are going to go the way of the Westerns. Like, I don't think so. You know, some of the highest grossing movies this year have been superhero films. And continue to be. Hawkeye. I like Hawkeye quite a bit. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see. I'm not experiencing burnout because I know that they have a lot of cool things on the way. Now I'm happy that we've gotten to this point where they can be as weird as they want because they've earned it. Marvel has earned it. You know, we're no longer in the days of, all right, we're going to try to do this origin film and we'll see what happens. Like, Marvel has now gone above that. And I'm like, that is so fucking freeing. That Chad, I would have never said, like 20 years ago in 2008. In 2008, if you would have told me they're going to do a Secret Wars movie, all right? They're going to have all 3 Spider-Mans. They didn't even exist. Some of those people didn't even exist. They're going to have 3 Spider-Mans in one movie. And they're going to fight against Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin and the Sandman and Electro. And like, what are you talking? No. Like, but they've gotten to that point. Which is awesome. And I'm excited for it. But again, you know, to each their own. To each their own. Brando, howdy to you, Brando. Hope you're doing well. Boone Shy Gaming, just a word of advice. You need to turn down 4 watts in your cam. It is too high. Well, thank you. Am I too bright? Am I too bright, Boone Shy? Well, thank you for the advice. I will do that. I'll do that next time. I don't know what setting. I don't know what 4 watt. I'll try to find that. I don't know what that means. It's funny, Eternals was the one that made me go, okay, they can break from the formula. They need to write better scripts with better stories and better characters, and these kind of tonal shifts are more than... Oh, see, that's the thing. I was not a fan of that. Because Eternals just didn't feel a part of the MCU at all. It just felt like, what is going on? To me, that felt like, what if we got, again, I said it before, what if we got Zack Snyder do a Marvel movie? I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that. I'm not saying Marvel movies can't be serious. They absolutely can. We have gotten those more seriously toned Marvel films. I'm pretty sure Black Panther is going to be a very serious movie. But they're going to have humor in it too. But you know, in some cases I think it works. In some other cases it doesn't. You know, I think Marvel has stumbled, but you know they've done a good job of addressing those stumbles over time. So we'll see. Can you see why people are saying this first episode seemed rushed? I mean, I guess so, the origin, but at the same time, She-Hulk's origin she doesn't have a really good origin to begin with. And so the fact they're like, we're just fucking, let's just get this moving. I didn't mind that at all. I didn't really mind that at all. I mean, could have been maybe another 10 minutes of like, I don't know, her and Bruce talking more. Sure. But I wasn't really bothered by it. Yeah. Rise, I have mixed feelings on the MCU being so meta now. I enjoy that we're at the point where everyone usually casually says superhero, but it takes a little wonderment out of the viewers. I like that. What has happened? I told this to Corey the other day. I told this to Corey on 8-Bit. What has happened to the MCU is that it's become like comics. You know, and that's a lot of good stuff. That carries a lot of bad stuff too. Is that now that this universe has been around for, you know, in terms of just the movies, I mean, really, close to 10 to 15 years, almost 15 years now, chat, that now that's what it has. But you've been living with this stuff forever. Of course, people are going to be a little more casual about it. I like that it feels so lived in. One of the great things that the MCU has done, that it's done, is that it's made these superheroes people. They're human, despite being superhuman. And I'm like, that is really cool. And I love that because that's how we can relate to them. Like my biggest criticism, one of my biggest criticism of a lot of the DCEU films, you know, certainly during the Zack Snyder era, is that he never views those characters as people. He looks at them as icons. He looks at them as gods, as ethereal figures. I'm like, that is a very awful approach to these characters. You need to make them human so that we can relate to them, so we feel invested in them. If they're always above us, if we're always looking up at them, then that's going to become really uninteresting. And a lot of cases, that becomes very unintentionally funny. And that's, you know, one of the reasons why the DCU is in the state that it is. And so I just don't mind the fact that it's become more casual. I think that's fun. That's just me. Thank you to Judas the Herminator. Judas the Herminator. Oh boy. Judas. That's a hell of a name. Wow. Well, welcome. I wonder who you hate. Oh my Lord. That's fucking hilarious. You gotta laugh at that. I think I pissed off a few people. Oh, Lord. Turtles felt like a Sony made Marvel, sure. Turtles feel sad. Turtles give me that. The thing is that Turtles look away. One of the big problems of Eternals, it took itself way too seriously. Way too seriously. All those characters got to stick up their ass. And we'll get that for because Eternals nowhere near as nihilistic as the most optimistic of Dacius 9. I mean, but it's up there. I mean, it's kind of up there, though. It's pretty nihilistic. You know, we are but grains of sand in the eyes of these super beings. You know, to like, what's his name? Richard. I like Richard Madden a lot. He's a great actor. Richard Madden's Apollo. Shooting star, you subscribe. That's fine. I love it. Thank you. oh, that's amazing. I love that. That is the true statement. Judas the Herminator. I love that. Kaylin McGee, good to see you. I'm having a good evening. It's been fun. Reviewing She-Hulk right now, getting people's opinions on it. Have a nice back and forth of everybody. I like it, Shy. I like it. We're disagreeing good. When they do X-Men, I'm legit, like, please don't fuck it up and please don't. 100%. Edge Berserker, you and I are on the same wavelength completely. Get out of my head. I'm right there with you. I don't want them to do the Dark Phoenix. It's like, stop. Just stop. It just kind of makes me tired. You failed it 2 times, and there's so many other great X-Men stories out there. And another thing I want them to avoid, and I don't know if you feel the same way as Berserker, but I do not want the love triangle between Logan, Scott, and Jean. Do not do that. It's just like I've said for a very long time, make Wolverine, I know he's older already, but make him an adult and make Jean and Scott teenagers. Do that. And so you can't have that fucking thing happen. Make Logan one of the professors. That's what I would do. Borrow heavily from X-Men Evolution. Edgy Berserker, thank you for gifting a sub to Casmic. Thank you. We're on the cusp of another hype train, Chad. Thank you so much. Oh. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I always saw them as gods and icons learning how to be human. Well, yeah, well which one? Well, you know, it's... there was a question. There was a statement from Joe. Superman isn't human, though. So, one of the most interesting things about Superman is that he's actually a very human character. Yes, he is Kryptonian. He's an alien. He has the powers. He literally has the powers of a god, or what we perceive to be as a god, right? But yet, some of my favorite Superman moments in comics and in film is when he's not using his powers, when he is at his most vulnerable, when he is at his most human. There's a couple of great scenes. Like one of my favorite scenes ever in Superman in film, for example, is the original 1970s Christopher Reeve Superman. A great moment is when Superman's adopted father, Jonathan Kent, is talking to him, and suddenly he has a heart attack. And what's so interesting about this scene is that before this happens, before Jonathan Kent has a heart attack, we see a showcase of all of Superman's abilities. Faster than a locomotive, doing all of this, but kicking the football thousands and thousands of yards. You know, he can't participate in these sports, can't participate in these activities because of his super strength. He would hurt too many people. We see a showcase of all of his abilities, and yet in this moment here, he can't do anything to save his father's life, who's dying from a heart attack. He doesn't know what to do, and I'm thinking that's incredible. That is a great, humbling, and humanizing scene. Another example, one of my favorite Superman scenes ever, which I would love to see someday adapted to film, is an All-Star Superman, where we have this young woman, this girl, who wants to kill herself, who wants to fling herself from a building, and it doesn't end. That doesn't end where she flings herself and Superman catches her. You know, he has to do some miraculous thing with his abilities. No, he's just there, and he talks to her, and basically tells her, I know that you're scared, but I want you to know that I can be here for you right now if you want me to. And he hugs her, and that's like, there it is. And the thing that frustrates me in the more recent adaptations of Superman, well, cinematically, because I think they nail it completely in the Superman Lois TV show, is that there is never a scene like that in any of those movies. Instead, Zack Snyder does his own version of the Jonathan Kent death scene, but instead of having something as simple as a heart attack, he has him get sucked up by a tornado willingly. And it's like, no, Clark, I'm teaching you a lesson. Don't come and save me, okay? I'm teaching you. It's like, what's the lesson? What's the lesson? Jonathan Kent was spiteful. And so that's why I like that Marvel, that seemed to have always been on their minds, that we are actively trying to make these superhero, these gods, these all-powerful beings, all-powerful beings human. And I'm like, yeah, you're nailing it. You're doing a great job. And I thought that was great. But we'll see. We'll eventually see what they do with a lot of these characters. Oh, what was you guys saying? I don't want to miss anyone's other comments in regards to either She-Hulk or just our discussion in general. Blackstone, thank you for the 50 biddies. No, greetings to you, Blackstone. Thank you again. Just saw DT's review of Roar. Holy shit, what an awful and fascinating movie. Oh, it is. Yeah, we did a watch party for it last night, too. No, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I watched a little bit of that review today. It was super fun. Let's see here. Now I'm gonna read your comment just a second, Chris Harris. Thank you for the 10 minutes. Let's see what other people have to say. Caitlin G, we gotta go to bed. Just wanted to stop by and show some. No, thank you so much, Caitlin McG. Have a great night. Heart hands and get plenty of rest and plenty of sleep. Because he's really knew how to change his body posture. He did, yeah, he did. He did that great. You're like, oh shit, it kind of does work then. Yeah, because as Clark Kent, he seems very meek. He's slouched. Yeah, I mean, he does have the glasses on. It's like, oh, you can, and where a Superman, he is fucking standing upright and tall and hands on his hips and everything. It does kind of work. Joe, I love the little moment Man of Steel wears mom's like, nice suit, son, like his child sports uniform. It was very endearing. I'm trying to remember that scene. I don't remember. No, it's been a while. I guess I last watched the film. Yeah, I guess it was last year. Good line, though. Good line. Not debating that line. I love seeing where Clark is kidnapped by Joker and his inner monologue. He's thinking about how would a normal human react to getting hit in the head with a mallet. Yeah, it's true. Horrified. Joe, I'm not going to argue Man of Steel is good. I just don't oppose its direction concept. Yeah. That's a situation where we're going to have to agree to disagree. Well, some people swear by that term and say, I can't. I just can't. I can't do it. But, it's a situation where it's like, yeah, we just disagree on it. Chris, there's a quick retort that got lost in the hype. I'm okay for Richard Madden's character having that viewpoint in Cubans because he's the villain. He makes it clear that he's wrong. I have much more of a problem with that when Superman and his parents have the view. Oh, 100%. I know. And then I was like, this is very disturbing. Is contemplating that they might be right. Yes, that is, I agree. Because then that's like, the only reason why Superman Clark is the way he is because of Jonathan and Martha. They have such great importance in the history of Superman because they're the ones that informed his sense of morality and his worldview. Without them, it could have been a lot worse. A lot worse. Yeah. Brandon, I'll be starting She-Hulk. Let me know what you think. Yeah, so 4K, first episode of She-Hulk was pretty good. I don't like judging a show as a whole based on how it was. Of course. I watched at least 5 or 6 episodes. Yeah, no, which I'm going to return. I'm going to do like an in-review of She-Hulk probably when we get to episode 5 and 6, and then I'll do like an overall review. So I'm going to get 3 She-Hulk videos, chat. Eddie Berserker, have a great evening. Thank you for stopping on the stream, and sleep well. Very nice. But yeah, chat. That's just kind of my general thoughts on the She-Hulk episode and, just kind of the state of things at Marvel. And listen, there's been some stumbles. There's no doubt about that. And, there's some things I definitely have not liked, like Eternals and Black Widow and, some elements of Shang-Chi. But there's stuff I have. I'm hoping that She-Hulk will definitely be consistently good throughout. We'll eventually see. I'll let you know as we go forward. Chat. Maybe I'll let you debate. Maybe I'll be like, you know what? Yeah, I don't like this. I'm not vibing with it anymore. But for right now, I can tell you right now, I had a very positive first impression from this show. From what I've read of the comics, which is quite a bit of She-Hulk, I have read a lot. They're doing it right. At least it's very much accurate. Now, whether you like the comedy or not, I feel like if you don't, it's totally fine. I get that. It's very subjective. It's probably won't be a very nice viewing experience. That's why I understand why people dislike Thor, Love and Thunder, because if you're not liking this comedy, then you're not going to have a good time. I compare it to like my experience of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which I was like, a lot of this comedy it was not hitting for me. Everything with the taser face, I was like, oh my God, I can't, no. Or the more dramatic elements of that movie did work for me, like with, Star-Lord and Ego, his father, Kurt Russell. I was like, that was really working for me. So, it's out subjective. But I know people who fucking swear by Guardians 2 that think it's even better than the first film. And some elements it is, certainly the villains. But they say it's even better, it's even funnier, and it's one of the best Marvel movies, where I would not rank it as one of the best Marvel movies. But again, to each their own. Agree, disagree. Oh, I dropped the fact about Night Trap. I'm feeling angry. Oh, I'm sorry, bad boy. You could drop a fact about Night Trap. Go ahead and drop it again. I'll read it. Regarding Superman, some writers complain that he is unrelatable. It takes empathy. Imagine thinking you have the power to do something and you can't. Everyone can relate to that. Yep. As the son of immigrants, as a minority, I can relate to that. I really say, and the thing is, Superman is an immigrant. He's an immigrant. Yeah, he's one of the most famous fictional immigrants of all time in all comics. As son of a minority, I can relate to that. I recently read All the Ages story called Superman Smashes the Klan. It was a great story and xenophobic from all perspectives, right? I have to watch that. I assume not watch. I think didn't they do an adaptation? But I have to read that. Very nice. The FMV footage for Night Trap was actually shot during '87 for a game console by Hasbro. They would have been used actual VHS tapes to operate. That deal fell through, obviously, and all that footage stayed on the dusty shelf 5 years before it was slapped together in 1992 for Sega CD and PC gamers. So there it goes. Wow, I like that. Was a nice fun fact. Look, Boss Chris, you are a Twitch legend. You got on a long. Let me see, Chris, you are a Twitch legend. You got a long dead biblical figure to come back to life to hate on the sub. I know, that was amazing. Judas. I must be doing something right, I must be doing something right. But no, listen, at the end of the day, where we're all going to have different perspective on these characters in these shows and their adaptations, chat, and but it makes for a great conversation. So even if you agree with me, you disagree with me, it's fun to talk about, chat. It's fun to talk about.